Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wreck and Roll. My name is Brian. Today I'm going to do part 2 of a series that I'm calling the Theory Dojo. So the idea is these are deck ideas that are kind of like germinating in the back of my mind. They don't have a ton of actual table time yet, but I'm walking through my thinking as I start to put the deck together. I did this with you guys last week. We talked about the rare version of Megatron paired with Insecticon Kickback and Insecticon Shrapnel as well. I've played that deck a handful of times since then, more than a handful, maybe about a dozen times since then. I'm liking it so far. It's a lot of fun. It has some good matchups. It has some bad matchups. I will continue to tweak and refine that deck. I'll give you guys an update on that eventually. As a reminder, though, these are untested. You should not show up to a big event thinking that you're going to do well with this. This is a starting point. This is where I talk about the core concept. I talk about what I'm thinking, and if it works, I will continue to tweak it. If it doesn't work, I will throw it out. Today's deck, we will be calling Truckasaurus. So the idea is we're going to use Nemesis Prime. You're going to fit the only 2 Dinobots we can fit in that deck. It will be Swoop and it will be Snarl. So this is kind of one of the starting points, and I guess maybe the Megatron 2 Bugs deck is part of this too, where I wonder if you can take an archetype and rather than having all characters of that archetype in that deck, you can have 2 characters and then fill out a 3rd character that maybe either adds to things that archetype does well but doesn't quite fit into that archetype, or maybe they just bring something different to the table, right? So, you know, in the Megatron and Insecticon deck, the idea is that we use the bugs to act as shields for Megatron. We sacrifice the bugs to tap dangerous characters on that side. So an idea of where I'm going with this is I think that the best jet deck right now might only run 2 jets. Maybe you only take Thundercracker and Jetfire, for example, which is an idea that I'll probably explore a little bit more at some point next week. And then you pair them with some other 7-point character. Something else I'm trying to avoid doing is I'm trying to avoid using Shrapnel. He is really good for 7 points, but I've been playing a lot of him lately. I've been playing against a lot of him lately. I want to try to branch out and maybe see what else we can do with 7 points other than Shrapnel. He's good. We know he's good. He's hard to deal with if you don't have certain things in your deck. But I want to kind of branch out and see what else we can do. So the idea behind the deck that we're using today is I'm taking the shell of this Dinobot deck, which again, I have to give props to Scott Landis of VectorSigma.info. Check out his website. It has a lot of great strategy and analysis articles that, you know, are definitely worth reading. I took the core of his Dinobot deck when I started really focusing with Dinobots. I've sort of not been using them a lot lately, but I will eventually get back to them. I know Scott has since then. If you take a look at the deck list section on VectorSigma.info, you can see kind of what he's suggesting now for his current Dinobot deck. My Dinobot deck you've seen on tape doesn't quite use those cards. It's a little bit different. I think probably mine is less effective than Scott's is, but I also use, you know, my core, you know, tweaking to his Dinobot deck to build my Hot Wheels deck, which does really, it's been doing well lately for me. And again, the idea is that we're focusing on that bold concept, especially with Wheeljack, to just swing out for insane amounts of damage. We're going to take that core skeleton and also see what we can do by pairing 2 Dinobots, the only 2 that you can pair with Nemesis cost-wise, and seeing what happens if we kind of throw that all together. Now, a lot of other people have been using kind of a more defensive Nemesis Prime deck. You have a lot of blue in those decks. I'm seeing what happens if you instead kind of just go full-on aggression, go full-on orange, and see what goes down there. Nemesis swings out hard for 7 in robot mode to begin with. What happens? Maybe you don't have to cycle through twice. Maybe you only have to get that once. Is basically the core concept in my thinking here. To begin with, let's talk very quickly about the characters that we have in this deck. So Swoop is there basically because he is the cheapest Dinobot. He allows me to take 2 Dinobots with Nemesis. If we look at his robot mode first, he is a Dinobot. He's a specialist. The only keyword that we're going to care about for right now is just Dinobot. His robot mode, 5 attack, is pretty good for 6 cost. 10 health is pretty good for 6 cost. 0 defense in robot mode is super sad. You have to be careful about when you flip him out there, because there's a decent chance there's a lot of things out there right now that will just one-shot him. On top of that, we're not doing a whole lot of blue in this deck, which makes it a little bit more dicey as well. So you have to think about when you dangle him out there in robot mode. His Dino mode is interesting. Attack goes down by 2. We're only at 3 attack. He does get 2 defense, which is pretty much the average. But when you flip into this mode, you can move 1 damage from him to an enemy. For 6 stars, that's pretty good. It allows him to essentially heal for 1 and then ping somebody out there for 1 damage. If there's an enemy out there that is 1 away from death, if I have swoop in robot mode, or if I have some transformation tricks to get him, to flip back into Dinobot mode quickly, I would much rather use swoop for that, as opposed to wasting a big giant attack with, Nemesis, or, a pretty strong attack with Snarl. I'd much rather do that flip with swoop to get that taken care of off the bat. And then our second character, again, just points-wise, it's the only way to make this work, is going to be Snarl. Both modes, he's a Dinobot. He's also melee. We're not going to trigger melee in this deck here. As I tweak it more, maybe that will be a possibility. Let's begin with his robot mode here. So 5 attack, strong, right? 2 defense, average, 9 health. A little bit sad, but I guess maybe 10 health might be too good for what he can do. In robot mode, when he attacks, you can put a card from your hand on top of the deck. We're running all 6 of the double orange cards in here. We're hoping to have it in hand so that when he attacks, we know that he's going to hit hard. I've had a turn or two with him where I've been able to, if I go first, I've been just a tiny bit away from just one-shotting Shrapnel. The opponent was lucky. They saw some blue, which usually Shrapnel is not using a ton of blue. It kept him on the table, but I kind of had that extremely lucky draw where I had a couple of double oranges. I had a white pip to get some more oranges out there too. But he's a lot better than I initially gave him credit for in that Dinobot deck tech video that I did, a couple weeks back. Dino mode has some possibilities here as well. His attack does go down by 1. However, when you flip into it, if you don't have any cards in hand, you get to draw 2 cards. Nemesis likes to draw cards. He likes to have them in hand so that we can kind of make that draw deck smaller so he cycles through faster. We use it for that. We'll use it to get upgrades. We'll use it to get actions out there. So pretty solid. He also hits hard. And then finally we have Nemesis Prime, who in this deck is kind of he is definitely the centerpiece. We are not going to use truck cards. We're not using melee cards right now, so his keywords don't do a lot. Robot mode, 7 attack is strong, 16 health is great, 2 defense average. When you reshuffle your scrap pile into your deck, you put the bottom card of the deck under him, and in robot mode that gives him plus 3 attack. Something that you have to watch out for. I've played Joe a lot in the summertime when he was doing Nemesis. I'll be honest, I just knew that he wanted to cycle through to get the additional card under him. It didn't click with me how quick my deck was going to cycle through. So the first time I played this on stream, he was in truck mode, and I didn't get that power up, which is painful. So you do have to be thoughtful about that. His truck mode attack goes down by 1, but 6 attack still really strong. If you think about it, Grimlock, his highest attack mode in robot mode is 6 attack. When you flip into it, your opponent chooses one of the characters and they do 2 damage to it. We want to have ways in this deck to kind of flip Nemesis in there and also be able to flip back quickly. This way, if we are about to get about to cycle through that deck, we can power him up again. But yeah, let's talk now about our battle card choices, upgrades first. Grenade launcher, 3 of, we're always happy to see it. Any of our characters can hit hard. This makes them hit harder. Energon X, but all 3 of our characters here are likely to survive an initial hit. So to get +3 attack is fantastic. The Pierce 2 is probably not doing a whole lot, unless maybe I have like Swoop in Dinobot mode. Then it might be pretty helpful to finish off a character that's almost dead. But we're going to go with 3 Energon Axes. It's one of the very few sources of blue, but balances out for what we want because it does that, static +3 attack pretty good. Flamethrower. We will have a lot of bold in our deck, so we like it for that, and we like it for the orange pip. Force Field is there because we want to keep our characters alive as much as possible. Probably like the ideal targets to put this onto. Obviously, we want Nemesis to survive as long as we can, but Snarl might also be an interesting possibility. Keep him alive a little bit longer than he might normally be. I've had a lot of turns where Snarl can just get one shot. Swoop also, especially in robot mode, could also get one shot. This is a way to keep them alive for one additional turn. Jaws of Steel. It only works on Swoop and Snarl, but it gives us bold too. We're really happy if we can get Flamethrower and Jaws of Steel. And hey, let's shoot for the sky. If we can get Supercharge out there as well onto them, even better. Just all the bold we can stack, fantastic. Right now, I only have this as a 2 of. I could maybe bump it up to a 3 of. Again, it doesn't really do a whole lot for us in hand if Nemesis is the only character left. However, it doesn't hurt for Nemesis to have just a bunch of cards in hand because then it lets the draw deck cycle through faster. So 3 of is a possibility. On top of that, we've got that orange pip. Improvised Shield is only there for, we want to see it when we are attacking to flip out to get those double oranges. We never, ever, ever want to play this onto a character. Peace Through Tyranny is there for a similar reason. We want those double oranges. There's a possibility if it looks like the action would allow us to win the game or kill off a major character on the opponent's side, we could use the ability for that too. Incoming Transmission. Nemesis wants to draw. I want to see certain cards. It allows me to do that. It also lets me stack lets me stack my my deck while I'm attacking. If I have that Improvised Shield or the Peace Through Tyranny in hand, get that on top, hit harder for the attack. Supercharge, like we said, we want bold. Any of our 3 characters will be happy to have this on them. Rapid Conversion. This is there mostly for Swoop to maybe ping 1 damage out there if possible. It is also there for Nemesis because we want to be able to flip him into truck mode to force the enemy to take that 2 damage onto a character of their choice as much as possible. One of the few sources of white in the deck, so it also helps us to cycle through that deck a little bit faster as well. Rollout is there for the same reason. Nemesis and Swoop have really cool like robot into alt mode abilities. Maybe some plays also with Snarl too to draw some more cards. We're also happy to have this for the orange and for the blue. Helps us attacking or defending. Ramming Speed is there because all of our characters are really sad if we see a force field out there on the table. So this is there to knock those off. Treasure Hunt is there to see the upgrades that we want to see, especially early before they die. We want to see Jaws of Steel out there. We want to see good weapons out there. We want to see force fields out there to keep our characters alive. It also helps to pull cards into the deck to make the draw deck smaller. On top of that, it helps us to scrap cards to cycle through faster to trigger Nemesis's robot ability. Orange Pip on top of that, can't go wrong with it. I Still Function is there to bring any of our characters back for a turn. The good news about Nemesis being 12 is this also works with him. I have to be careful kind of in my head thinking, and I played Frenchie on stream. We're just used to bringing a character back. You have to realize it does not work on Rare Optimus or Rare Megatron. It does work on Nemesis. Any of our 3 characters, it's great to bring them back for a turn because all 3 can hit very hard, especially if we have some upgrades or actions that we could play to make them hit harder. Although again, I Still Function would be your action, so you won't be able to play an additional action. Let's take a look now at cards that I might consider like swapping in and out as I'm testing. Databank is good because at the start of the turn you draw a card, gives you 2 cards in there. You are drawing cards faster, cycling through the deck faster. You're also having a chance to see the cards that you really, really, really want to see early on. Cards like Jaws of Steel, Flamethrower, Supercharge, that let you kind of both do a ton of damage and also let you just go through that deck fast. It's also a white pip, which also helps us to go through our deck a little bit faster too. Zap is orange. It helps us if we flip it while attacking. It's also good to play against a character like Shrapnel to keep him around for fewer turns. Dino Chomp is a possibility. It's a cool card. But in some cases, scrapping our hand might potentially be bad. We want to try to make that draw deck small. So getting rid of it back into the scrap could maybe be bad. On top of that, if we have our Dinobots dead, it doesn't help Nemesis. On top of that, it's a blue pip. So this is a consideration, but right now, it's not in my initial deck idea. Leap into Battle, +3 static is great. However, blue pip, so for right now, not in there. Bigger they are, it could help both Snarl and Swoop hit harder because chances are that you will see 8 cost or higher characters out there. That static +2 is great, and then for someone like Swoop especially, Pierce 4 is also good if he's attacking in Dinobot mode. But again, that blue pip means that we are currently not putting it into the deck. Swap missions could be a way that I could have Nemesis attack, and then maybe next turn I could tap Swoop and I could untap Nemesis, let Nemesis go again. Great idea. It's good in kind of like those big characters flanked by smaller characters. However, blue pip means that we are not currently using it. Body armor is a possibility. It's only for melee characters. It would only work on Snarl or Nemesis. But that tough 3 is good. We don't have blue. We're not really going to see much more blue, but it would cycle through the deck faster. It's also an orange. But right now, I don't think it's the most effective card to put into the deck. Scrapper Gauntlet's also a possibility. It's armor. It's orange. When you put it onto a character, you can scrap an enemy weapon. If you can't do that, you get to draw a card. Gives you +1 defense. There's a lot of good benefits to this card. I just don't really have space in my initial deck idea for it, but it might get added in there eventually. Datapad, white pip, so that's pretty good. It also lets us stack our attack. Snarl has this essentially built into him, but, well, he has something similar, I guess, built into him. You don't get that draw with Snarl. But it lets us draw cards. It lets us stack the deck, so also a benefit there. Drill Arms is a possibility. It's one more way to get rid of Force Field, but again, that blue pip means that right now we're not going to run it. We're going to just stack orange like crazy as much as we can. Power Sword is the last possible card. Bolt 3 is great. We'll take it. However, this is again something that Scott had messaged me early on. He was watching some of the Dinobot stuff. I was playing against Joe. The blue hurts it in this case. Supercharge is a better way to get bold. Flamethrower, better way to get bold. Jaws of Steel for the Dinobots, better way to get bold. The blue heavy Nemesis decks love this, but for right now I'm not going to use it in mine. Probably won't end up using it either. So that right there, guys, is what I'm thinking. If you look back to our newest live stream that we posted this past Sunday, you guys will see me playing this against Frenchie. Frenchie put together a Rare Optimus RC and Shrapnel deck. I played this deck against him. He then did a Cosmos and 2 Bugs deck. I played against him there as well. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I won all 4 games. A few of them were close. It was my first time playing the deck. I definitely had some missed triggers, some missed opportunities, probably some misplays in there as well. But hey, you guys have been watching me for a couple of months. Sometimes that's what I do. I don't do it on purpose. But yeah, if you end up trying this, or if you have suggestions or ideas, or if you've done something similar. If you've got some feedback, please post it in the comments below on YouTube. If you guys are not already there, please join our Facebook page. If you check our video description, you'll find a link to it there. Whenever we're posting a video, usually in the morning or like the night before, we'll tell you guys what's coming up next. We usually drop our videos at about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, oh, come on, there we go. We're gonna have a Twitch. We're trying this out. This was our buddy, our #1 fan, Mark Kinney, suggested that we try this out. So did his buddy Adam. So we have one ready to go. We will have a link to it in this video description as well. So hey, check that out, because I think the next time that we do a live stream, which we're not going to do one the weekend after you guys see this video, but maybe this coming Tuesday or possibly next weekend, we'll put something out there. But subscribe so that you guys get the notification when we do go live. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. We're at like 570-ish subscribers as I'm recording this video, which is, I don't know, probably about 565 more subscribers than Joe and I thought we'd have when we first started this. You guys will see more Frenchie. Hopefully our buddy John, our buddy Pete, our buddy Cody. You guys will see them eventually too on our videos. But yeah, I mean, I'm blabbering. It's about 11 o'clock p.m. at night, and my brain is starting to go. So thank you guys for watching. This is Brian signing off. Till all are one.